Okay, but 13, and it says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its savor, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead, they set it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So, do you have any thoughts? Do you have anything to say about this, Crispin?
Um, okay. So verse 13 talks of uh, being the salt of the earth. I think that's one of the verses that I'm always still pondering on because I've never really gotten full understanding of what the Messiah meant. But one thing I know about salt, brother, is um, however good you can cook your food, put all the spices, do all the things, all the prepare it with all that finesse. But if you don't add salt to it, that food is going to be tasteless. So I think salt is very, very important when it comes to. Now I'm looking at it in terms of food, like the salt we use in our homes, and ideally, without that salt, that food is tasteless. So when I look at that or with that line of thought, and I come to what the Messiah is saying here, and he calls the believers the salt of the world. I think what comes to my mind to me is our role as believers, like how once we start walking this walk, like it is up to us to bring flavor to our surrounding, that place where you are right now, Eric, in the States, here in Kenya, wherever you are, wherever Yahweh has stationed you, like you are supposed to be that it factor, and that is simply by walking in the spirit and bearing the fruits of the spirit, because that is what is going to differentiate, or that is what is going to soften the hearts in this world where hearts are growing cold every day. So yeah, that's how I view verse 13, and it ties in, of course, to verse 14. When I read verse 14 and 15, I think Deuteronomy 4, is it Deuteronomy 4? I think, where Yahweh was telling the children of Israel, let me just check it, let me confirm, let me not speak uh, theoretically here, and we have access to scriptures. Yeah, so I think it's Deuteronomy 4 from verse 5. Deuteronomy 4 from verse 5, and it says, See, I have taught you statutes and ordinances, just as Yahweh my God has commanded me, so that you may follow them in the land that you are about to enter and possess. Observe them carefully, for this will show your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the peoples who will hear all the statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So you're saying, for what nation is great enough to have a God as near to them as Yahweh, our mighty one, is to us whenever we call on Him? And what nation is great enough to have righteous statutes and ordinances like this entire law I set before you today? So we see uh, Moses, I believe it was Moses speaking here, and he was telling them, the nations will see, right? We'll see them observing these statutes, walking out their faith, following Yahweh's instructions, and they will be wondering, like, this is a wise and understanding nation. Like, what's up with these guys? Like, I see that similar to what the Messiah is saying here about being a city on a hill. That's the only way you stand out. That's the only way. That is what sets you apart, right? And these instructions that Yahweh has given us to walk out, or to, like, it's like a manual to live this life. So yeah, that's what I see, brother.
Also adding on that point is that the way I see it also is like salt. If we look at the nature of salt, wherever it's put, let's say in food, in water, and if you put it in food or even water, you don't put the same quantity of salt with the same quantity of water or food. There is some quantity that you put in that water or food. So at the end of the day, it has a way of influencing its surrounding with the taste that it has, and that's what Jesus is equating us believers to, that we have that potential. If you go into a crowd, you can, by the way you're living out your life, because we see at verses 16, he says, let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Which I believe the verses 16 is all rounded. It's covering verses 13, 14, and 15, telling us that he's not saying that we are salt, but he's equating our lives to the ability of salt being able to change some amount of water into becoming salty water, putting a light in a dark room and lightening up the room. So he's telling us the way we act before non-believers or even other believers, our deeds, let our deeds make those people. Sometimes, it's not even, you don't even have to preach to people for them to come into the faith. There was once, when I was still in Kenya, I was driving for Uber, and so I would interact with so many people. And there was this guy I carried from Ruaka to the CBD, and he sat at the passenger side, opposite the driver, and he didn't talk to me. He didn't tell me anything. So he sat there. I drove him to town, and when I was dropping him, he was like, "Hey, bro, are you born again?" You know the way Kenyans like to say, "Wewe ni mtu wa Mungu." So I was like, I'm in the faith, but I don't know what you mean by. Yeah, akaniambia, the way you're acting, the way you're behaving, because he would ask me a question, I would ask politely. I don't know what he saw, but he asked me that question, and I was like, kumbe, maybe the way I'm acting, the way I'm behaving before people, that makes people see the good deeds that you're doing, and they actually glorify the Father, because when they are asking me, are you a believer? They are glorifying God in the sense that they acknowledge that those deeds can only come from the one true God. Like, as long as you're in the faith, you're supposed to portray those deeds naturally. Like, they're supposed to come out of you. Goodness, kindness, faithfulness, mercy, all those things are supposed to come from you, like, without being pushed or nudged. So in that sense, I see it in that way, that we are supposed to, like, I can say, bring out those traits, bring out the character of the Father through our deeds. And that's adding on top of what you've said. That's how I would say it continues to show us how we should continue living our lives as salt. Like, we are changing other people. We are doing this, and our deeds continue to feel. This person will go and tell that person, and or even if you're in a crowd, they will see and say, okay, nice. Whatever we read in the Bible or here, it's true, because we can see someone actually portraying those characteristics from the Bible. So yeah, that's how I would probably say we act out those few verses from Matthew 5. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're talking about your Uber experience, I remember very early in my walk, I was always pressured, like, share the word. Like, whenever I met someone, I always wanted to pull up, like, hey, read Deuteronomy, hey, read Matthew chapter this and this says this and this, and you are doing this and this, but Matthew says this, the one says this, and I think most of the times it ended up pushing people away and turning them away from the word. And the more I learned, the more I grew into the faith, the more I walked this walk, the more I realized at least the most effective way of ministry is actually, you talked of, in this experience, you preach to this guy, you minister to him, not by words, but by deeds, right? He saw your actions. And there's this thing the Messiah said, I think it's in John, when he talks of the student can never be greater than the master, right? And John describes the master as the word becoming flesh, right? So basically, the Messiah was the manifestation of the word, right? He was righteousness, he was kindness, he was right ruling, he was wisdom personified. So basically, when people saw him, by his deeds, people saw the word, right? And if the master, a big part of his gospel was his deeds, healing, all those things he did. Of course, yes, he preached, but he did a lot of deeds, and these are the deeds people saw. And people, I remember in Mark 10, someone comes and tells him, good, calls him a good teacher, and he says only one is good, but the Father, my Father in heaven. That's a good example of people seeing the light and people glorifying the Father in heaven, right? Because you, as the vessel, acknowledge that it is not by your power, by your might. It is by the strength of the Most High, the Spirit of the Most High. So, yeah, I think just as the Messiah was the Word made flesh, when people see the Word become manifest in our lives through patience, joy, love, all the fruits of the Spirit, that is the most effective way to minister to them, because they see and they believe that you can actually do this, you can actually do this, because they've seen you acting out your faith. So that was a powerful testimony, brother. Thanks for sharing.
We thank the Lord. We thank Yahweh every single time.
Mhm.
And so we can move on to the next part. Matthew 5:17. And these Bibles, I don't know, the fulfillment of the law, I don't. But anyway, it says, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For I tell you truly, until heaven and earth pass away, not a single jot, not a stroke of a pen will disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. So then, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do likewise will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. So again, we come to this concept of the kingdom. And throughout the ministry of Yeshua, he kept on saying, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is coming. Even the apostles, the kingdom of heaven is coming. And I believe also a few prophets spoke about the kingdom, if I'm not wrong. And the prophet Baruch, I'm sorry, I don't have that scripture pulled out. He spoke about the kingdom, and Yahweh was talking to Baruch, and he was telling Baruch, this is the land called Jerusalem, or the land called Israel, is not what I was talking about when I was telling Abraham, I will give. The name Jerusalem is not the city that I said. My name will be there forever. But the city is hidden with me in heaven. And I believe, I don't know, Kama, if you believe the same thing. I believe that city is the new Jerusalem are waiting to come down, and Yeshua is coming back, and that is what is called the kingdom of heaven. That is the good news. That was what Yeshua came to preach, that there is a kingdom coming, and I will be the king of that kingdom, and I need all you people to live with me in that kingdom. And that's why he's telling people the Beatitudes. You have to have this kind of character to live in this kingdom, because Yahweh himself will come and dwell with the people. if you look at the book of Revelations, when it's, I think, verses 20 or 21, it talks about the way the New Jerusalem comes down. And then John continues to say that there will be no sun, because the Son and the Father will be the light of that kingdom. So, meaning the Father himself will come to that city and dwell with the people and dwell on earth. Yes, the heavens are not going anywhere, but his throne in heaven, his place where he has been living and where he's living up to now is not going anywhere. But he wants to come and dwell with men here on earth, because number one, when he created Adam and Eve, he gave them the dominion of the earth, and man was created for the earth, not for the heavens. Are we agreeing there? Or
Yes, brother. I think it's in one of the Beatitudes, Paleju, that talks of the meek inheriting
yes,
the earth.
yes.
Yes.
So man was created for the earth. That's why we have different bodies, the spiritual body and the earthly body. And so he will come from heaven and come and dwell with us, because he's God. He can move from heaven and come to earth. But I don't believe that. Okay, maybe, I don't know, Stucky could speculate a lot about how that time will be, if we'll be visiting heaven or you can just go there and see her. But I believe Yahweh will come to earth. All the other details I'm not sure about, and I don't want to speculate anything about those kind of ideas. And so I think when Yeshua is talking about he has not come to destroy the law or remove the law, but he has come to fulfill the law. I believe what he's saying is, I've not come to do away with the law of my Father, because it is the Father who sent him on the earth. But he has come to show us there is more to the law than the way we interpret the law. For example, when this is where now he gets into the Old Testament, the Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, and he tries to explain, and we're going to read, he tries to explain some of the concepts in those books. And I think this is where we most believers, we take it out of context kabisa when we say, and I don't know why people would read verses 17 where Yeshua is saying, think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am come to destroy. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. I don't know what would go in your mind when you hear Yeshua saying that he has not come to destroy, but then go and say he did away with this. So, like, is it what's going on in your mind when you read this and then explain it in this other way? I'm how would you try and think in that kind of way?
This is one of those, man. I've had this portion being butchered by so many people, at least with my little understanding. Because, as you've said, his opening statement is, I do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill them. So even before I go further, I think it's interesting when you look at these previous verses that you read, talking about light and all these things. There is no way Yeshua is coming down and now trying to do away with this law, right? Because is it someone? Let's look at Psalm 119. I think it's. Is it Psalm 119 or in the Proverbs? Let me just see why it calls why the word calls the law of God light, right?
I think it's Psalms. You want me to? You found it? Can I put it up?
Yeah, let me look for it. But I think it's 119. Oh no, I'm only 19. Let me just give me a minute.
Yeah, as you're looking for that, let me share the meaning of the word fulfill. So give me a minute, because sometimes we start we talk about things that we haven't even looked up, and we get ourselves in a lot of mess, and like getting to know the understanding or the meaning of a word is really crucial. And this is called the Bereans Bible study. And I want to look at Matthew 5:17, where he's talking about now fulfill. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. I want us to look at the meaning of this word fulfill and get to know the understanding of it. And so in Greek, is it? Wait a minute. Right. So as you can see, the phonetic spelling of it is plero. I think I've butchered that word, but it means the definition of it is to make full, to complete. I feel, I fulfill, or to complete. If you go down here and check, where is that word from? Where is it taken from? The origin of the word, where it's taken from. You can see it's taken from pleris, which means full, abounding in, complete, completely, occupied with. And so when Yeshua says that I have come to fulfill the law, he's not talking about taking it away. Let me remove this from the screen. He's not talking about taking it away, but he's talking about coming to feel the law. Like he's coming to show us, okay, you've had it said this way, but if you look at a woman already and lust after her, you see there is a difference when he's saying you have had it said. And then he continues and says, but if you look at a woman to lust, even before committing that adulterous act, before doing it, before going to bed, it means you sat down, you thought about it, you meditated about it, you thought about it, you went through that process of looking, thinking about it, wanting it, and then accomplishing the act. And so Yeshua is saying this. You had it that when you do the act, this will happen. But I'm telling you, even before you do the act, you've already sinned. Because you've thought about it, it's like the law for